What is your never meet your heroes story? I've never met anyone that was an idol of mine that I had a bad experience with. However, my best friend growing up had his go so bad he ended what was nearly 20 years of fandom right then and there. He worked for one of the big shoe stores and had won a contest to go to the All-Star festivities for the NBA. He met a lot of current and former player and coaches and had a blast. Until he met Michael Jordan. Being a sneakerhead, my friend owned originals or re-releases of every shoe Jordan ever had up until that point. It was something like 30 shoes if you counted the different colorways. Posters, jerseys, trading cards, memorabilia of all types adorned a room at his apartment. He sees Jordan and decides to just kind of hang out until he is done talking and just get a quick meet and greet, no photo, no autograph, just to say hey. Jordan ends his conversation and my friend steps up near him and Jordan basically asks him who the fuck he is, what he wants and acts like an asshole. My friend just tells him that he was a big fan and it was great to finally meet him. Jordan basically says, yeah, whatever and walks away. He got home from the trip and started selling off his collection of shoes and all things Jordan. He had heard the stories and assumed they were just overblown or didn't happen. Nope, Jordan is a cock in real life. Traveled 3 hours with a few friends of mine to watch an independent author, 36M, on his speaking tour when we were 14. He'd just released a book about his sex addiction, but his other books were just about his life and I loved him. When he found out we'd traveled so far, he started asking about how we got there and I told him my sister, 34, drove us. I tried to tell him that he inspired me and I was so happy to meet him. All he did was ask if my sister was hot. Told him she was in a long-term committed relationship and all he could say was I don't mind. Discovered dude was just gross and never bought another of his books. Not me, but my 4-year-old daughter. She loves male men, she insists that she really wants to be one when she grows up, she's even planning to be a mailman for Halloween. She stops every mailman she sees to shower them with questions, and most have been kind and patient with this weird kid stopping them to ask questions. Until 2 days ago, when one told her to go away. She's been deflated for the whole 2 days. Tried to talk to Bill Nye at the USA Science and Engineering Festival when I was in middle school and he was a total asshole to both me and his 2 assistants. Rolled his eyes at me, was very snarky when I asked for an autograph and tried to tell him that he was the reason I had decided to apply to a science magnet high school. I was totally shocked and it was all I could do to hold in my tears until I turned away. Edit, it was the USA Science and Engineering Festival, not the National Book Festival, though both are awesome. I was told that as a kid I met Ryan Reynolds on the street once with my parents and he tried talking to me and I told him to go away. He's now one of my favorite actors. You're his never meet your hero. I worked at a train park in Scottsdale, AZ back in high school and was in the front lobby when David Spade came in with his kid. This story is pretty great because he was upset that the cashier or anyone up front wasn't treating him in a OMG David fucking Spade just walked into our establishment kind of way. He even verbatim said don't you know who I am, and just seemed super petty. I just remember standing there internally laughing my ass off. It made me question what I thought about him, getting upset attention grabbing in a kid's train park. Bonus story. Same train park I was running the carousel one afternoon and an incognito John Heater took a ride by himself at like 3 p.m. confirmed it was him with the cashier afterwards. Still can't get over that either. My best friend drives for a luxury taxi line and drove Ed Sheeran to his concert. Ed gets in my friend's car, my friend is greeting him, he doesn't even say hello back. My friend tells him few seconds later, hello, my name is. I am your driver today and I am sorry but I just have to tell you I really enjoy your music and it's really an honor for me to drive you to your concert. Ed, the asshole he was, just looked at him and said yeah whatever and put his earphones on. Yeah, you can imagine, my best friend doesn't like him since that moment. A friend of mine had a similar experience with him. She worked for his record label and they had a long day of meetings and interviews where she was responsible to keep him happy. He was the biggest asshole and acted like he was better than anyone else. I grew up with a poster of Cameron Diaz on my wall. Always thought she was the dopest. Then I met her and she was rude, stuck up, and made me get out of an elevator I was already in so she could ride it up alone. We were going to the same event. She later didn't acknowledge the elevator ride when we were introduced by a mutual friend. Made me think she's always like that. She may be hot but I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole anymore. I met her while I was working in a hospital years ago. She was visiting someone. I get that it's stressful times, but she was so rude. I want to preface this saying I did not approach her in any way. I was on the job and just happened to be in an elevator that she entered. She didn't ask me to leave OP, maybe it was the scrubs. When she came in I did a little head nod and said hello, which I would do for anyone who came into our hospital and I encountered. This is actually something our hospital taught so that staff was approachable and would appear more compassionate/helpful, etc. She scoffed, turned around and gave me the coldest shoulder. I didn't even realize who she was until I heard she was there from other staff and it clicked. When my friends and I were like 17 to 18. We went to see an X Factor taping recording when Demi Lovato, Disney star who was a judge on the show, was pulling out of the studio driveway and my friend just said, "OMG, I love you so much. You saved my life," and she was so angry and just said, "Get the fuck away from me," in the bitchiest manner ever and drove off. She is bipolar but he still never liked her after that and was so heartbroken. I ran into my favorite comedian once when eating with my family at a Chinese restaurant. I quoted one of my favorite lines to him, "The fun is just beginning." He yelled and cursed at me right in front of my parents. It was very embarrassing. He then had the nerve to ask if I wanted a picture. Never watched his routines again, and I guess I will never get the chance now. I met Mickey Mouse at Disney World when I was around 6 years old. He just took a picture and signed my autograph book without even saying a word. He was a lot bigger in person than in the cartoons, though. Almost seemed about the size of a human adult. I never met him but I am from the same town as him. Dan Aykroyd has been my hero since Ghostbusters/Blues Brothers. I've always wanted to meet him until I met an ex-girlfriend that told me otherwise. She was at a book signing here and he and his entourage invited her and other women up to his hotel suite for an after party. He tried all night trying to get her and other women to get to sleep with him. There was full of drugs everywhere too. This hit me hard because his best friend John Belushi OD'd on drugs. He was trying to get with her since she was very tall but she wasn't interested and left after a while. Best part is that I was able to sleep with a woman that turned down my hero, LOL. Since then I also found YouTube videos on how much of a dick he is in real life. Neil deGrasse Tyson was a real asshole to the crowd when he spoke at Mississippi State University around 8 years ago. The talk was a bit condescending, and it ended in a Q&A where he told a person with a question about Pluto to put their hand down in the most serious and offended voice ever. This pretty fresh after the Pluto isn't a planet thing, so I'm sure he was sick of hearing it, but he was just an asshole in general. I guess I was expecting a student of Carl Sagan to be as awesome as Carl Sagan, which was my F up. Thank you for watching, subscribe for more.